The plates rattled as Elena Vargas steadied her trembling hands. Friday night rush. Vargas dining hall was full, candles flickering, laughter echoing off polished glass. To everyone here, she was just another waitress. Polite, quiet, invisible. But tonight, that invisibility was about to shatter. "Table 3 needs their bill," barked the manager, voice cutting through the clamor. Elena forced a smile, wiping sweat from her forehead. She'd been on her feet for 9 hours. The manager, Thomas Clark, had a habit of reminding her who was in charge. She approached table 3. The man sitting there didn't look like he belonged among the city's elites. He looked like he owned them. Tailored suit, cufflinks engraved with the name Voss. He didn't glance up when he said, "Tell your boss Richard Voss will be taking full control next week. Might want to polish your resume." Her breath caught. Full control? Control of what? She glanced toward Clark, who froze, just for a second. That flicker of guilt was enough to ignite suspicion deep in her chest. She'd been serving here for 8 years, ever since her father, Gabriel Vargas, had fallen ill. Everyone thought she was just helping out. What they didn't know was that this restaurant wasn't just her workplace. It was her family's legacy. Her father had built this chain from scratch, and she was watching it being sold off piece by piece. Later that night, the restaurant emptied out. The sound of clinking glasses was replaced by the rhythmic hum of the dishwasher. Elena sat at the corner booth, tracing the carved initials GV on the wooden table, her father's favorite spot. She remembered law school. The long nights, the debates, the fire in her chest when she talked about justice. But then her father's stroke changed everything. She left school. She signed papers she didn't read. And now the vultures had come to collect. Clark's voice broke her trance. "Elena," he said, too casually, "don't take what you heard tonight too seriously. Mr. Voss is just restructuring." Restructuring? She looked up, eyes steady. "By taking what's not his?" Clark hesitated. "Your father signed the transfer. It's done." Her jaw tightened. "Did he? Or did you?" He smirked, but his hand trembled as he gathered his coat. "Don't start what you can't finish, Elena." When he left, she pulled out her phone. Her contact list was short: deliveries, suppliers, one name that mattered: Daniel Reyes. She texted, "Need to talk." About the papers. By dawn, she was at the old storage office behind the restaurant. Dusty files. Forgotten ledgers. Daniel arrived with tired eyes and a folder under his arm. "You sure you want to dig into this?" he asked. "I should have done it years ago," she said. Inside the folder, copies of recent ownership transfers. One signature caught her eye. Her father's name, but not his handwriting. Her pulse quickened. "Daniel, these aren't notarized. And look here, no witness signatures. They used my father's medical proxy." He frowned. Meaning someone used his illness to fake consent. She looked up, a storm rising in her eyes. "And I think I know who." Rain began tapping on the window. Slow at first, then heavier, like the calm before something bigger. A story was unfolding. One that would pit a quiet waitress against a billion-dollar empire. If you're hooked already, don't forget to subscribe and follow for more cinematic stories like this. Because what happens next will make your heart race. By morning, Seattle was washed in a cold drizzle. Elena's reflection blurred across the office window. Tired eyes, hair pulled back, determination hardening her features. She hadn't slept. Her father's signature haunted her mind like a ghost. Daniel sat beside her, flipping through files. Whoever did this was careful. They forged everything: invoices, emails, even medical authorizations. But they slipped up on one thing: the right of first refusal clause in the partnership agreement. Elena's brow furrowed. "Explain." "It means if any partner wanted to sell their shares, they had to offer it to your family first, in writing." Her pulse quickened. "And there's no record of that offer, is there?" Daniel shook his head. "None. Which makes the sale to Voss illegal." For the first time in years, something sparked inside her. Not just anger, but purpose. She took a deep breath. "Then we fight." That afternoon, She walked back into the restaurant wearing the same black uniform. But something in her demeanor had changed. Clark was standing near the bar, laughing with a supplier, when he saw her. His smile faltered. "Elena," he began. "I thought I told you to take the day off." "I did," she said calmly, slipping a folder onto the counter. "While you were busy selling what isn't yours." He stiffened. "What's this supposed to be?" "Proof. Or at least enough to make Richard Voss very nervous." He laughed. A nervous, hollow sound. "You think you can scare him? You're a waitress." She stepped closer. "I was a law student before life got in the way. You forgot that." The silence between them felt heavy. Then she leaned in. "And I remember enough to destroy you." His mask cracked. For the first time, he looked afraid. That night, she sat at her kitchen table surrounded by papers. Legal forms, old contracts, even handwritten letters from her father. The ticking clock filled the quiet. On the floor, a framed photo of her and her dad at the restaurant's opening day caught her eye. He'd written on the back, "Protect what we built, no matter what it costs." Her phone buzzed. A known number. She hesitated before answering. "Miss Vargas," a deep voice said. "This is Richard Voss. I hear you've been snooping around. That's a dangerous hobby." "Is that a threat?" she asked evenly. "A warning," he replied. "Your father's company belongs to me now. You'd do well to accept that." "You mean the company you stole with forged documents?" He chuckled. "Big words. You sure you can back them up?" "Try me." She ended the call. Her hands trembled. She looked down at her father's old briefcase. Still locked, dusty. She'd never had the heart to open it. But now, maybe the answers were inside. She grabbed a screwdriver and forced the latch open. Inside were neatly organized folders and one small brown envelope labeled, "Trust, Confidential." Her heart pounded as she pulled out a document. A trust fund agreement, signed and sealed by her father years before his illness. Inside it, a clause granting her emergency financial authority over the entire Vargas dining group in the event of fraud or corporate distress. Her eyes widened. He knew this could happen. Daniel looked over her shoulder. "That's your leverage. Enough to drag them to court and freeze every transaction."
Elena exhaled slowly.
"Then we won't just drag them, we'll bury them." Outside, thunder rolled across the city. She looked out the window, watching lightning dance over the skyline. For the first time, she wasn't afraid. To everyone else, she was still the quiet waitress. But in less than a week, that illusion would burn away. If you're still watching, hit that subscribe button, because the next part will make your jaw drop. Things are about to turn explosive. The next morning, Elena walked into the downtown headquarters of Voss Holdings, the glass towers gleaming against the gray Seattle sky. Her simple black coat and calm expression didn't belong in a building filled with people who lived off intimidation and power. But that was exactly why she came. The receptionist looked up. "Can I help you?" "Yes," Elena said softly, sliding a letter across the counter. "Tell Mr. Voss he's just been served." Inside the letter was an injunction, a court order freezing every pending transfer involving Vargas Dining Group. She turned to leave before the woman could react. But the elevator doors opened, and Richard Voss himself stepped out. Tall, confident, too polished for his own good. He recognized her instantly. "Ah, the waitress." His voice carried the smugness of a man who'd never been told no. "You've made quite a mess." She met his gaze without flinching. "Not as big as the one you're in." Voss glanced at the papers. "You think a few signatures can stop me?" "No," she said, stepping closer. "But a forged one can destroy you." For the first time, his expression shifted. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "You don't know who you're dealing with."
Elena smiled faintly.
"That's the problem, Mr. Voss. You don't either." Security escorted her out, but the seed had been planted. He was rattled, and he knew it. Later that evening, Elena sat in Daniel's apartment, surrounded by boxes of documents. "We need to find proof that links Clark to the forgery," she said, flipping through the files. Daniel pointed to an old email thread. "Wait, this. Look." It was a message from Clark to Voss's legal counsel dated 6 months ago, referencing the accelerated signature process for Vargas transition. Attached, a scanned signature from a document marked medical authorization form, Gabriel Vargas. Her stomach twisted. He used Dad's medical file to fake consent. Daniel nodded grimly. That's criminal. Elena grabbed her phone. Then it's time the world knew. She made a call.
Detektive Lang?
It's Elena Vargas. I think I have evidence of corporate fraud involving forged legal documents and elder exploitation. The detective's tone shifted immediately. Bring what you have. Tonight. At the precinct, she laid everything on the table, the fake documents, the emails, the trust fund clause, and her father's medical reports. Lang skimmed the pages, his brows furrowing deeper with each turn. This is airtight, he said finally. We'll move fast. When she left the station, the city felt different, sharper, alive. The rain had stopped, but her heartbeat didn't. The next day, Clark stormed into the restaurant, red-faced and desperate. What did you do? He hissed, grabbing her arm. She pulled free. You stole from the wrong person. You'll ruin everything, he spat. It's already ruined, she said. You just don't know it yet. He froze as 2 plainclothes officers stepped forward behind her. Thomas Clark, one said. You're under arrest for fraud and conspiracy to commit forgery. The entire staff watched as he was handcuffed and led out. The restaurant fell silent, broken only by the soft hum of the ceiling fan.
Elena exhaled slowly.
That evening, she stood in her father's hospital room, watching him sleep. The steady beep of the monitor was the only sound. She took his frail hand in hers. Dad, she whispered. It's not over yet, but I'm closer. I promise I'll finish this. The next day, headlines flooded the news. Corporate titan under investigation for forgery scandal. Voss's empire trembled. His investors withdrew. His lawyers panicked. And somewhere in the middle of it all, the quiet waitress who once served coffee was now the woman tearing down his empire piece by piece. If this moment gave you chills, don't forget to like and subscribe, because the final chapter will show what true justice looks like when silence finally finds its voice. The courtroom was full, a quiet tension humming beneath the fluorescent lights. Cameras lined the back wall, journalists whispering names like Voss and Vargas. But Elena didn't hear them. She was focused on the thick stack of papers in front of her, her father's legacy, her proof, her weapon. Richard Voss sat across the aisle, his trademark arrogance now replaced by something colder, fear disguised as composure. His attorneys whispered furiously, sliding documents back and forth, but even they knew the storm had already broken. The judge entered. The room rose. As the proceedings began, Elena kept her voice calm and steady. Your Honor, the defense built their claim on documents bearing my father's signature. But as the evidence shows, those documents were never witnessed, never notarized, and contain dates inconsistent with my father's medical records. They are forgeries. The judge peered over her glasses. And your proof. Elena handed over the trust document. My father anticipated this. He created a trust clause granting me emergency financial control in any case of corporate fraud or manipulation. This clause was legally verified and registered before his illness. Voss's lead counsel objected, voice cracking slightly. Your Honor, this is irrelevant. The judge raised a hand. Overruled. Elena continued, her voice gaining quiet strength. Mr. Voss used my father's medical proxy, provided by Mr. Clark, to authorize the sale. But attached to those same files were scans of personal letters. Letters only I could identify, confirming they were taken from my father's private records. That is theft, coercion, and fraud. The silence that followed was absolute. When the judge finally spoke, her words cut through the room like a verdict from heaven. The court hereby declares the transfer of Vargas Dining Group null and void. A@LL ownership returns to the Vargas estate. Mr. Voss, you and your associates are to be held for further investigation under corporate fraud statutes. Voss closed his eyes, exhaling heavily. The empire he'd built on deception was collapsing in real time. Elena stood still, not triumphant, just relieved. Outside the courthouse, rain began to fall again. Dozens of microphones met her as she stepped down the marble steps. Ms. Vargas, how does it feel to win against one of the city's most powerful CEOs? She paused, eyes steady. This was never about power, she said. It was about integrity. My father taught me that family is more than a name. It's a promise you protect, no matter the cost. The crowd erupted in applause. Somewhere in the noise, she heard Daniel's voice. You did it, Elena. She smiled faintly. We did it. That evening, the restaurant lights glowed warm again. The air smelled of roasted garlic and hope. Employees who had feared losing their jobs now moved with quiet pride. The Vargas crest was restored on the main wall. Polished, bright, untouchable. Elena walked through the dining hall, watching laughter return to the place she loved. Her father's wheelchair sat near the corner table, a soft blanket across his lap. His eyes opened slowly as she approached. It's over, she whispered. We got it back. He smiled weakly. You always were the brave one. She squeezed his hand, eyes glistening.
No, Dad.
You were. I just finally remembered who I was. Outside, the city buzzed, unaware that inside this small restaurant, justice had quietly changed hands. As she walked to the front door, she paused, looking at the sign Vargas Dining Group. Family, integrity, legacy. She turned off the lights, her reflection in the glass now clear, confident, and whole. Her voice lingered in the quiet. Some battles aren't won in boardrooms or courts. They're won when you finally stop letting fear write your story. If this story moved you, remember to like, subscribe, and share. Because sometimes, one story can remind someone out there that silence doesn't mean weakness. It means waiting for the right moment to rise.